Hello, I'm Mike. Welcome to the workshop. This week I decided to do a little bit of shop infrastructure. So, if you look over here, so this is my setup for charging. Because I tend to buy stuff as I need them, I've ended up with several different chargers from different brands, which means it all takes up a lot of space. And each of these has a purpose. This is my small 16-volt drill that I use for a lot of cabinet assembly. This is for my hammer drill and my half-inch chuck drill. And what tends to happen is I have all the cables from all these chargers going down to a gang socket underneath, so I end up with cables everywhere and it all gets bundled. So I need a place that I can have all these easily accessible and chargeable, because these are hard to get into. If I want to get this out, I have to pull it my way out because everything is tight. And also, when I'm sanding, this is my sander, what I tend to do is, because I always need my sander here, I have nowhere else to put it, I'll leave my sander down on the ground, which is not great. I want it to be close to hand. So I'm going to make a unit to put all of these in at a height that will hold my sander, and then I can use this space for other stuff that I need to hand, like tapes and glues and stuff like that. So that's going to be this week's project. And because I'm part womble and never try anything out, I'm going to use all these scraps that I have from other units I've cut up and offcuts. So this is going to be a bit of a Franken unit. But hey, it's fun. Let's roll the intro! Right, so here's the design. It's going to be very simple. I'm just going to have a series of angle shelves that will allow me to put the chargers on an angle, along with any batteries for each of them. Keep them nice and separated. And those are going to stop short of the back. I'm only going to have a U shape here, so two cables on the top, and then at the back I'm going to have a cross member. And on that cross member I'll put my gang socket, so I only have one socket coming up here onto the desk that'll charge everything. And it also means then that it's very simple. If I need to bring these somewhere, if I'm doing a job on site, I can just plug it out here, pull out, put it back in. No messing, no fuss. Like I said, all of this is just going made from scraps, so it's going to look a bit piebald. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut up all my stuff for my sides, my top, and then do a little bit of experimenting on the angles that I'll need for my shelves. And then when I have that done, then it's only a matter of screwing it together. This should be a quick little project, so let's get to it. So I'm using my table saw and my chop saw to do my sizing here, but you could just as easily do it with a handheld circular saw or jigsaw or even a hand saw. Just one thing to be conscious of, I happen to be using a mix of chipboard and MDF here, just because that's the scraps I have. Chipboard and MDF do give off some pretty nasty dust, so make sure you're working in a well ventilated area, and if you're not, make sure to wear a mask. So as it happened, the material that I had from scraps had some material that was thick enough, or deep enough, sorry, to make my shelves, so I didn't have to tin these out. But I did cut a few strips about 2 inches wide to make the little holders at the front. So what I've done here is I've laid these all out in the order that they're most used. So most common down to the least common used. And I'm just positioning them so everything is nice spaced at a comfortable angle. This will allow me then to get my angle here, which will give me my length for my little shelves to hold them. So I'm just going to mark along all of these where I want it to be. I want to make sure as well that I can pull out the batteries without interference. So I'll go there. This one is awkward because I can't see the charge and the thing on the one side, so Oh, what I should do there. What follows is about a 15-minute process where I keep talking to myself and keep changing until I'm happy. This is what we like to refer to as the creative process. Or at least that's what I like to refer to it as. Anyway, I did eventually get it right, so yay for me, I guess. And now it's time to complete the journey into choppy land for this project. So here I just cut up all my shells. You can see that there are screw holes in these from where they were before, but I'll face those holes down so they won't be seen in the final piece. And when I have all my pieces cut for my shells, I just run off that strip that I mentioned before, about 2 inches wide, just to make a holder to stop the batteries and chargers falling out. So, after about 20 minutes here, I'm ready to start assembling this. So, let's get to that, huh? So, because these are like scraps, they do have a show side and non-show side. But luckily a lot of them are already edged, so it'll look nice and sweet if I just put up the clean sides. I do have some iron-on edging. I'll show you how to do that. It's very cheap, and actually it's a very quick way to zhuzh up your cabinets and just peel the old edging off and put on a new edging, and it just makes it look a bit nicer. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to start marking for our screws. I'm going to countersink all of these, and then we'll assemble all of these little shells first, and we'll lay them out. We'll put them on one side, put on the other side, put the top on, and then I'll apply any changes that need to happen, make sure I'm happy, and then just a little bit of painting to the MDF sides, and this project is good to go. Let's start with that. So what I like to do for any of this kind of cabinetry work, so I like to take the cable or whatever I'm screwing into, put it on top of the piece that the screws are going into. That gives me a very clear indication of where the screws can go. So you want to come in, if you're screwing with a chipboard, at least 50 or 60 mil I find, to make sure you don't split. And I drill all of these holes as close to center as I can. Here I'm just eyeing it, but if it was for something more important or showy, I would actually mark that center line and mark the position of the screw holes. Using 3.5 by 40s, but I don't have any, so and I'll just put the show side up, clamp it here just to help me. Tight, but not too tight, because you will lose grip and burst. These are chipboard screws. My most multi-purpose screws you buy these days are chipboard screws, but you will tear them out, so be careful. That's that. As strong as that is. That one won't actually do a little more twist. There you go. That's one done. 3 more to go. exact same for the top, just using a piece of MDF here to mark my thickness, and I drill all my holes roughly on center. So everything is sort of screwed together now. So what I've done here is I have my angles that these shells are going in. I know where these shells are going in. So what I've done is I've marked, sorry, take that one out. I've marked around where all these shells are going to go. Then I'm going to drill through all of these positions and have it marked at the end and countersink on the other side. That means I can go paint this and I'll be able to score that line back across, and I'm already drilled, and I'll be able to assemble everything perfectly when I need. But the last step to do is edge this, paint it, edge the rest of these, and I'll show you how we do edging, and then we'll get into a bit of assembly. Have you noticed a mistake yet? Well, I did not, I drilled it. But yes, I had marked these on the wrong side, so the angle with the stop is the exact opposite, it's the way I want it. So, unlike me, if you do make this, please remember to have your stop at the lower end of the angle. So, iron on edging, what is it? Well, what it is a material that's thin, that on the back of it is a thermally reactive glue. You can get loads of different types. This is a white one that happens to be paintable, but you can get it in any sorts of colours and finishes you want to match your cabinetry, and how it started out originally in solid wood. This is great for, like I said, you can update your cabinets very quickly, very easily by redoing the edges, or if you're making panels using, let's say, veneered MDF. So if you're making a unit out of oak veneered MDF, you want it to look like it's all oak, you just buy yourself some solid oak edging, and on the back of that thin veneer then is your thermally reactive glue. You rub your iron over and that glues in place. So for this you do need an iron. There are specific irons for this, but a normal household iron will do. This is actually a small travel iron that I bought exactly for this purpose. It's handy, and you know, a normal iron is quite big. So what you want to do is get your iron to a heat that's not hotter than it says on the material data sheet of your particular edging, and then you slowly work it in. I'll show you that here now. So I'm starting at the top here. Just going get a little bit of my white edging, and what I like to do generally is just break it off a little bit longer than I need, and then center it on it. These come in different widths, but normally the width is going to be wider than what you're working on. So the standard one is 22, your standard panel is 19 or 18 or 15. So this allows you then to just center this on it, and you can clean it off then with a razor blade. So I'm leaving a little bit over the edge, and I'm just going to slowly start working my iron on top of it, keeping it in line and working my way back. And if you want an extra tight hole on this, you could go back over this with a roller. For this, I think it's probably okay. It bonds pretty well to the MDF, or sorry, to chipboard. I'm just going to go back over here just with this piece of timber. We'll give that a few seconds then to set. Now you can get tools for trimming these, but I find that although this is a small one, a regular utility knife, and if you will do the job, you just hold it against the face that you want to trim to and work your way slowly down both sides. This does take a little bit of time to get used to. There's a little bit of knack in it to not dig into the panel, but if you're not confident in that, you can get little trimming things. I'll put an image up there, and what they do then is just rub along the sides and trim off your excess. That's this, that's my top one. I like then to just sit it on the table to get that edge cut. Again, using my scalpel, turn it over and do your next edge. And you keep proceeding in that way until you have everything done. In this case, obviously I have very little to do. I'm just doing edges that are already exposed. But if you were doing entire panels, you would just follow this same methodology. What I like to do, don't mind that edge, there's just a bit of dirt on the thing, is I just happen to have this piece of sandpaper on a stick. But I always like to take a piece of sandpaper to the edge when I have a cut. That just takes the sharp edge off, makes it all nice and safe. So then I proceed to do the same for those little kickers on the shells and for the fronts of the gables. This just makes it a little bit easier to paint because MDF is a pain to paint, particularly on the edge. So with that done, yeah, I'll leave you back to workshop Mike. That is that. All the parts for this project are edged, cut to size, ready to go. All I need to do is put a coat of paint on these sides, which I'll do off camera because I'm not a painter, and I definitely couldn't show you the right way to do it. So the next you see, I'm going to start assembling this, and I must apologise. This time, there's no Danish file time, but life's about disappointments. Right, so our paint is dried. I used a gloss oil-based paint here. Finish is not great because the actual paint is gone, but this is something for the workshop. And also what I did is, shown here, is I sprayed the heads of a load of screws with white. This just makes it look a little bit cleaner. Makes it better for the job. You can get these are what's known as caps. You can get them in most hardware shops. They're just a piece of circle of laminate. There's glue on the back. You stick them over your screw holes. These are used all the time in kitchen and bedroom furniture, but this is for the workshop, so we're not going to do that. So let's zoom down to an assembly montage. So there we have it. That's this little project done. Now the only downside is the width here that I chose. I didn't have enough to get my gang socket in the back, but I'm going to mount it on the side, which probably will be handier for access for plugging stuff in and out. So happy accidents, sometimes they happen when you're making. This obviously could be applied to anything. You use the same methodologies here with the angle shells for shoes or whatever you need. But this is a great way to make use of any old bits of cabinets that you have lying around. Certainly a better use than burning them. So, if you like this kind of content, let me know. If you want to see me make more stuff for the workshop. A workshop is a living thing, it's always evolving, and I'm always getting annoyed at how I do things. So, leave a like, share, comment, all that kind of stuff, and I'll try my best to do that for you. So, yeah. Thank you as always, and absolutely do try this at home. Paint on this came out okay. I used a oil-based mold blythe. What did that? Let's roll the intro! Huh?